This is the old me from the 1990s, standing alongside my old Formula. I used to take a lot of road trips in this car, and here's a crazy story from one of those trips. I didn't have a GPS back then. I used road maps. And this story started out in Michigan. I was in the military back then and had come to Michigan to visit family for the holidays. Everything went well. I visited with the family, and so I packed up everything and headed back to Texas. The drive to Texas was a long, hard trip, and it used to take me 24 hours to drive it straight through. Things had been going pretty good on the road, though when I drove through Ohio, I felt the need to go to the men's room and made the dumb decision not to. I thought I would push through to the next major stop where I would gas up, eat, and do everything all at once. By the time I had gotten to Kentucky, my men's room visit had become urgent and I could no longer put it off. So I started looking for a place to stop. I'm really picky about the places I stop when I'm on the road for obvious reasons, safety, security, all that. But this time I needed a men's room and it had gotten urgent. Though I didn't feel comfortable stopping in the small country town region that I was in, I stopped anyway. I saw a small country store and I felt kind of weird about it. One of the things that made me feel weird is that it had a pig on the sign and it was huge. You could see it from the highway. Let me explain right now that this is not the store that I stopped at. This is not the store. I had searched for hours on a GPS map trying to find the actual store that I went to, but I wasn't able to find it. What I did instead was find a store and sign that was similar, so at least you would understand what I'm saying. So this sign as well is not from the actual store, it's just similar. It was a big smiling pig's face on the sign. Again, this is not the actual store that I stopped at, but it's very similar to it, so I'm going to use this store to explain to you what happened here. Okay, I want to set this up for you real quick. On the left side, there's a large vehicle and a small vehicle. Pretend like they're not there. On the right hand of the store, there's a blue truck, and just by coincidence, there was a blue truck when I pulled up to the actual store. Just imagine that blue truck pulled forward to where that second arrow is. Okay. Let's go with it. Okay, so I pulled up to the store and I parked where that blue dot is. And the reason why I parked that far away is that that blue truck had a Confederate flag for a license plate. I didn't want to give the driver of that truck any reason to come near me or my car. You'll notice that to the left of where I parked, there's two red dots. The red dot with an arrow pointing at it is where a guy was sitting in his car. In the moments before I got out of my own car, there was a lady that pulled up on the side of this guy that was sitting in his car. She got out of her car and got into the car with him. And so I was feeling a little uneasy. I got these two sitting in their car. There's a truck with a Confederate flag on it. And I'm in a country town that's not even on a map. I thought this was a good time to check on, let's just call them safety devices. There were some devices that I always carried with me on the road to make sure that I was safe. So I went through my stuff to make sure that I was good to go, and I was. Okay, so I got out of my car and I went into the store. Inside there was a group of people standing next to the cash register. It was the cashier and four gentlemen, and they were having a conversation. It surprised me when they all stopped talking, turned, and greeted me after I come to the door. They were all as friendly as can be. I returned the greeting in the same friendly manner, then made my way to the men's room. Inside the restroom, they had bad lighting, so it was kind of dark. They had 3 stalls and all 3 were occupied, so I left out of there. The store had all sorts of things like collectibles and small appliances, so I decided to browse around until one of the stalls became available. As I browsed around, I noticed that 2 black gentlemen came into the store. I felt some sort of relief when I saw them because I didn't really feel comfortable being the only black person there. It was kind of a big store, so it didn't take long for me to notice that these 2 guys kept trying to make their way over close to where I was standing. Every time I moved to a different area, they would ease their way down to try and stand near me. These guys made me even more leery than I already was, so I went back to the men's room to take one of my safety devices and put it in my pocket where I could grab it quicker just in case I needed it. Shortly after I stepped in, a stall became available, so I took it. Shortly after I locked the stall door, those 2 black guys came in the men's room and I heard them whispering to one another. They said something to the effect that there was someone in the other stall. I pulled out all safety devices along with multiple backup cartridges because I didn't want to run out of juice. I charged the safety devices, and when I did, it made loud clicking sounds. Then I could hear the two guys whisper to one another, and one of them walked out of the men's room. Right here is where I had a moment of reflection. I remembered that I was in a small country town, and I thought that whatever I did to ensure that I remained safe in that men's room, it may cost me way more than I was willing to pay. I heard the gentleman in the stall next to me preparing to leave, and I thought that I should leave too. I gathered my stuff, washed my hands, and I left. As I left out of the restroom, I took note that one of the black guys had been standing at the sink washing his hands the full 5 to 10 minutes that I was in the stall. Immediately outside the men's room was the second black guy just standing there. If either of them had actually wanted to use the men's room, the other stall had become empty while I was in there. Either one of those guys could have taken that empty stall, but they didn't. I grabbed a few snacks and a couple of drinks, and I left. I went outside the store and I made my way over to my car. As I made my way to my car door, I heard somebody directly behind me say, "Hey, there's somebody in that car over there." I turned around and those two black guys were standing near the front of my car, looking over at the guy and girl sitting in the parked car on the side of the store. They looked at the two for a moment, then they walked off. I walked down to the end of the building just to see where they were going. There were a bunch of 18-wheeler trucks parked in the back of the store, and once they got kind of close to where the trucks were, I went back to my car. I got in my car, and as I looked forward, the lady and gentleman that were sitting in the car on the side of the store, they were staring at me. They weren't even talking anymore. They were just sitting there staring forward, staring at me. I don't want to get into any of my own personal afterthoughts of how I felt after this happened, but I do have some advice for those of you who travel. If you like to take road trips like I used to, be careful. Keep your eyes open and watchful. Don't ever get comfortable with your surroundings until you get back home. Don't forget to have fun, but don't forget to be cautious. Stay safe, guys.